Good morning, ladies and gentlemen present in the room this morning. Good morning, Trinidad and Tobago, those that are joining us live. I know that we are familiar with the persons that are in the room this morning, but protocol dictates that I recognize the presence of Dr. the Honorable Nyan Gadsby-Dolly, Minister of Education, Ms. Jacqueline Charles, Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Education, Ms. Simone Williams, Permanent Secretary Acting, Dr. Peter Smith, our Chief Education Officer. We also have Mr. Wilson Henderson Jr., our Deputy Permanent Secretary. We have Mr. Aaron Ramratan, the Director of School Supervision. We have Mr. Wayne Cupid. He's the Director for EFP&PD, that's the Education Facilities Planning and Procurement Division. We also have Dr. Ayanka Nurse-Carringston. She's the Director of the Student Support Services Division of the Ministry of Education. And finally, another director in the room this morning, Mr. Alvin Webb. He is the Director with responsibility for ICT. Welcome to this important press conference this morning. The objective is to discuss matters relating to education. Just before I introduce the Honorable Minister, let me remind you as it relates to our session for questioning. One question, thank you. Identify your media house. Honorable Minister, in her opening statement, she will advise on the topics to be discussed, and then Honorable Minister will take the press conference from then on as to who is responding to what issues. Pleasure is mine this morning to present to you Dr. the Honorable Nyan Gadsby-Dolly, Minister of Education, to bring us opening remarks. Minister, over to you, ma'am.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning to our listening and viewing audience. It is our pleasure from the Ministry of Education to be here with you this morning to address some of the issues that are affecting education, that are topical in education at this time. With me, I have several members of the executive of the Ministry of Education, our PS and our two PSs, I should say, our CEO and a number of our directors, and they will be addressing some of the different issues. And following their presentations, we will open the floor for questions from the media. We have PS Charles, who will be dealing with the book grant, Deputy Permanent Secretary Henderson, who will speak to teacher staffing. We have Mr. Cupid, who will speak to school repair. We have Mr. Webb, who will speak to IT projects currently ongoing at the Ministry of Education. We have Dr. Ayanka Nurse-Carringston, who will deal with student aids and special education. We have our Director of School Supervision, Mr. Aaron Ramratan, who will speak to the Vacation Revision Program and remedial education school performance. We have our Dr. Peter Smith, who will do our secondary proficiency examination and our student admission into the education sector. Following that, I will return and just close the session and the different topics. So the directors and PSs will now present their different.
A wonderful good morning. Presentation, as indicated, will be on the school supplies and book grant, which is famously known as the book grant. The 2024 budget announced the provision of $1,000 school supplies and book grant, known as the book grant, for needy students to assist in meeting the cost of attendance at primary and secondary schools. To date, Monday, 19th August 2024, I'm pleased to announce that 7,848 students were awarded the $1,000 book grant, categorized as follows. 7,391 students received funds disbursed at various accounts in 4 major banks, 79 students at the JMMB Bank, which equated to $79,000. 2,364 students had funds remitted to Royal Bank for $2,364,000. We had Scotiabank, 1,857 students, $1.857 million dispersed to Scotiabank, and First Citizen Bank, 3,091 students, approximating $3.091 million. 457 students received money via separate checks. By the end of today, Monday, 19th August, to Tuesday, tomorrow, 20th August, the ministry intends to disperse the second tranche of $9.017 million to 9,017 students. First Citizens Bank will receive a allotment of $2.17 million for 2,172 students. Republic Bank, 5,800 students will receive $5.8 million, and Royal Bank, 266 students for $266,000. Scotiabank, 209 students for $209,000. Separate checks will be provided for 570 students for $570,000. The sum dispersed in both tranches will amount to $16.865 million, equating to 16,865 students receiving the $1,000 grant. The final tranche of $3.135 million will be dispersed by August 23, 2024, leading to $20 million payment in school and book grants to 20,000 students. Thank you.
Members of the media, pleasant good afternoon. The Ministry of Education recognizes the critical role of placing teaching professionals to ensure the delivery of quality education for all students. At present, there exist 99 Teacher 1 primary vacancies at 125 government primary schools out of a total of 452 primary schools, of which 42 vacancies require a teacher to be recruited as a new hire and 57 are requests for transfers. To treat with the need to fill these 42 vacancies, the Ministry of Education, under delegated authority from the Teaching Service Commission, began the recruitment process in January 2024 with a call for applications for Teacher 1 Primary. The interview process, which began in July 2024, suffered a setback, wherein the interview questions utilized for the 2023 Teacher 1 Primary denominational boards interviews were leaked online. Given this, the Teaching Service Commission decided to restart the interview process on August 12, 2024, last Monday, and is expected to be completed by September 30th, 2024, as advised by the Commission. In the intervening period between the opening of schools on September 2nd, 2024, and the expected completion date of the Teacher 1 Primary interviews, the Ministry of Education has initiated a strategy to address these vacancies, namely the short-term engagement for Term 1 only of 42 persons to fill those vacancies. These were drawn from 413 persons assessed and qualified as teachers who are presently awaiting placement from the existing order of merit list for denominational board schools. Vacancies that exist in denominational board schools are under the remit of each of the denominational boards and have been addressed. The Ministry of Education will continue to work closely with the Teaching Service Commission to have all vacancies in government primary schools filled beginning Term 2 of the 2024-2025 academic year. I thank you.
Facilities Planning and Procurement Division is responsible for the construction and maintenance of all schools and educational facilities in Trinidad. The Ministry of Education facilities are as follows: 143 early childhood care and educational centers, 5% past its design life, that is, 5% of the schools are older than 50 years. 451 primary schools, 55% past its design life. 128 secondary schools, 39% past its design life. 10 special schools. The Ministry of Education is also responsible for district offices, some 4 district offices. The EFP&PD has executed an extensive workload for fiscal year 2023-2024 thus far. And at the commencement of this fiscal in October 2023, there were 3 planned programs that carried over from the last fiscal due to ongoing works. 27 schools, critical infrastructure works, they are at 50% completed to date at a cost of $171.26 million. Renovation works were also done for 26 SSD rooms, and that is currently at 96% completed, and that is $4.7 million. And the July-August Critical Repair Program 2023, which is currently at 23% completion, and is at $51 million. The Phase 2 priority schools, 4 out of these 7 schools have been completed to date, and the works to commence in the remaining 3 schools, Lower Mova Government Primary, Piccadilly Government Primary, Bishop's Anstey High School. Those have been awarded and work should start shortly. Furniture was also procured under the IDF for 2022 and 2023 for primary, secondary schools. This is 100% completed. Pardon me. With regards to works executed in the current fiscal year, there are 2 sections, emergencies and planned works. Under emergencies, between the period of October 2023 to August 16, 2024, 322 approvals have been granted in the estimated sum of $37.1 million for the execution of emergency works. Under planned works, there are planned programs established over the course of this year. The SCA Repair Program 2024, which is ongoing, is 99% completed to date at a cost of $3.6 million. CSEC Cape Program 2024 is currently at 91% completion at $1.2 million. The July-August Critical Repair Program 2024, this program is divided into 2 phases. Phase 1 is at $17 million. This has commenced, while Phase 2 will commence shortly. Thank you.
I will account on the Student Aids Special Educations Unit, School-Based Intervention Team, Private Special Schools, and Restorative Practices. Today, the number of student aids that the ministry has in circulation is 422. And this is a combination of the MOE's contracted persons and OJTs who are trained by the Special Educations Unit to meet the needs of our children with special needs. These persons provide specific support depending on the child they are assigned to work with during their tenure. Our Special Educations Unit diagnostic specialists, senior special education instructors, special education teachers 2, special education instructors, or special education teacher 1, student aides, and assistant sign language interpreters. Some of their roles and responsibilities include coordinating services, assessing and identifying student needs, designing individualized instruction, differentiated instruction, collaborating with parents and other support units, one-on-one support, transition support, improved academic performance, social skills development, and enhanced emotional aspect. Our school-based intervention team identifies risks within students. It services through a collaborative team approach with our parents, teachers, and staff, and also our SSSD staff. They also promote inclusive education through the support of diverse needs of all students, promoting equality and equity and access to education. This particular unit also prevents escalation through early intervention and support to teachers, parents, and students. And this team monitors and evaluates the effectiveness of the intervention and adjusts as needed. Our private special schools. The MOE provides support to 13 private special schools to date in the form of grants which go towards the school. This includes staff salaries, approved student tuition, and a means grant once the student meets the criteria. Support is provided to the private special schools for the payment of the school's electricity and water bills, which are paid in full each term. Telephone services and upkeep of the school's premises are paid for in the first term every school year. As of term 3, 2023-2024, we have funded 651 students. Restorative practices. This is a proactive conflict resolution among our students using circles, restorative dialogues, reintegration circles, dialogues, harm circles, conflict circles, and follow-up. Over the past year, the restorative practices team observed a significant shift in behavior with an increasing number of students choosing to address conflict proactively. By engaging in restorative practices, the students are not only resolving disputes more effectively, but also they are developing critical life skills such as empathy, communication, and collaboration. We have observed strengthened teacher-student relationships through the implementations of the circles as they provide a safe and inclusive space for open dialogue, allowing students and teachers to connect on a deeper level. In Term 3, there were approximately 721 restorative practices interventions and 7,955 circles were conducted by the form teachers across the 10 pilot schools. We have also seen a reduction in suspensions across 5 of those 10 schools by focusing on community building and using restorative practices alternatives to out-of-school suspensions for minor infractions rather than punitive means. Sanwa North Secondary has emerged as the most improved school in the district, with school leadership crediting restorative practices as a key factor to their success in transforming the school's culture, leading to improved academic performance, behavior, and a stronger sense of community.
Initiatives. As a part of the Ministry of Education digitalization initiatives, the Ministry have identified several projects towards adventure. The first one, Numeracy, an online solution that provides numeracy development in primary school and secondary schools. This project was executed in 2024, February, and we are currently working towards implementation. This project will impact students in Standard 1 to Form 3 and will impact approximately 20,000 students. Primary School Expansion Wi-Fi project. This project is currently under procurement and it's expected to impact approximately all primary schools in Trinidad. Also, our ebooks, which is an ebook platform solution. This project is expected to be concluded in 2024, the procurement that is, and it will impact all the schools of focus, standards 1 to 3 and forms 1 to 3.
The third annual School Vacation Revision Program, VRP, commenced with 80 primary schools used as centers, which started on Monday, the 8th of July, and concluded on Friday, the 9th of August, 2024. A total of 3,896 standards 3 and 4 students were enrolled with an average daily attendance of 1,892 students, or 47%, over the 5-week period. 21 secondary schools were used as centers for enrolling Form 1 students who scored less than 30% at the SEA. The secondary schools started on Monday, the 15th of July, and ended on Friday, the 19th of August, 2024. There was an enrollment of 937 students with an average daily attendance of 481 students, or 51%, over the 5-week period. Breakfast and lunches were provided to all students on the designated days of the VRP. Students were engaged by tutors in the curriculum areas of mathematics, mental mathematics, language arts, creative writing, music, and drama. For the third consecutive year, the Ministry of Education hosted a captivating, inspirational caravan theme, Turn Up, Don't Give Up, for all VRP students at the secondary level. The 4-day caravan served to encourage students and parents to persevere in the face of challenges and expose them to opportunities for positive engagement and support. In collaboration with Guardian Media Limited and numerous other governmental, corporate, and private entities, the initiative was successfully held from August 13th to 16th and brought the VRP to a close. The after-school education program, ASEP, was also conducted throughout the 3 terms of the last school academic year, 2023 to 2024. The program ran for a total of 27 weeks with 125 contact hours. Target levels of standards 4 and 5 students enrolled were 4,004 standard 4 students, of which 2,585 students attended, or 65%. Standard 5, 3,092 students were enrolled, of which 2,210 students attended, or 71%. Data analyses showed a positive correlation trend with these interventions based on the following improvements. Generally, the 80 primary schools of focus showed a continuous increase in the mean SEA weighted composite score from 178 in 2022 to 181 in 2023 and 182 in 2024. Additionally, 26 of the 80 schools of focus, or 32.5%, showed a continuous increase in students' SEA mean weighted composite scores from 2022 to 2024. 30 out of the 80 schools of focus, or 37.5%, showed an increase in 2023 compared to 2022. 13 out of the 80 schools of focus, or 16.3%, showed an increase in the SEA mean weighted score in 2024 compared to 2023. The percentage of students scoring under 30% in 2022, which was 60%, decreased by half in 2023 and 2024 to 29% and 30%, respectively. The percentage of students scoring above 50% in SEA increased by approximately 20% in 2023 and 2024, respectively. 41 out of the 80 primary schools of focus showed a continuous increase from 2022 to 2024. With respect to students' attendance, there was a small increase of 1% from 2023 to 2024. There was an increase in teacher attendance in schools of focus over the period 2022 to 2023 from 81% to 85%. All schools of focus were involved with cultural transformation activities. There was a positive relation between the number of cultural transformation activities completed and a reduction of students' suspensions. Thank you.
I will focus on 2 areas, the first of which I will proceed with now. The Ministry of Education has rebranded and upgraded the primary school leaving certificate examination to the Lower Secondary Proficiency Examination, or LSPE, which will be implemented in 2025. The primary school leaving certificate examination was established more than 3 decades ago to provide adolescents who were not successful at the then Common Entrance Examination with an opportunity to earn a space in a secondary school. The subject areas assessed at that time include mathematics, English language, English composition and comprehension, and general paper, which comprised social studies, current affairs, science, and agricultural science. The primary school certificate leaving examination curriculum is associated with minimum knowledge, skills, and competencies of an average entry-level employee. In 2000, the examination was no longer administered to primary school students, as access to quality secondary education for all students was implemented, and as a result, all Standard 5 students are placed in a secondary school. However, the examination was still administered to students at adult education centers, service volunteered for all, or SERVAL, life centers, and correctional centers or facilities in Trinidad and Tobago. And so we come to why rebrand and upgrade. To provide additional support and pathways to students who may be at risk of dropping out before completing the Caribbean Secondary Education Certificate. To allow students who achieved less than 50% in the secondary entrance assessment to be certified in basic competencies required to continue their education, and should they attain the age of 16 before doing CSEC and drop out of school, allow them to have the minimum certification for employment. LSPE does not debar students from continuing school and pursuing the Caribbean Secondary Education Certificate examinations. And so a little about the LSPE curriculum. The LSPE curriculum has been upgraded to include new areas in the English composition, science, and social studies subjects. However, the assessment areas are similar to those of the PSLCE: English composition and comprehension, English language arts, mathematics, general paper, social studies, current affairs, science, and agricultural science. The syllabus informs 1 and 2 of the 26 schools of focus is dedicated to the preparation of students for the LSPE, with a deep focus on remedial mathematics, language arts, writing and reading, and technical vocational education and training. In terms of the target group, Form 2 students at the secondary level for academic year 2024-2025 who scored less than 50% at SEA, lower secondary school students and above, candidates at adult education centers, SERVAL life centers, and correctional centers and facilities. In terms of the employment opportunities, positions in the public and private sectors, and these include, for example, chauffeur, cleaner, groundsman, messenger, and watchman. The current status of the PLCE, the current PLC was administered to the Forms 2 cohort in June 2024, with a total of 6,866 students registered to write the examination. The Ministry of Education will embark on an education drive to inform parents and other education training agencies. The Ministry of Education will also collaborate with the Ministry of Youth Development and National Service to encourage youth to register for the Lower Secondary Proficiency Exam, or LSPE. I now move to a summary of the activities associated with the admission of migrant students from the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela. Migrant children of the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela will be admitted into schools in Trinidad and Tobago in September 2024, in compliance with the Immigration Amendment Number 2, Regulations 2024. In terms of the admission, guidelines for the admission of migrant children into schools in Trinidad and Tobago were developed in collaboration with the Ministry of National Security, along with the input from the Ministry of Health, and shall apply to Venezuelan nationals under the age of 18 whose parents registered with the Ministry of National Security in 2019 and continue to register yearly under the Migrant Registration Framework, or MRF. Currently, in terms of the actual registration, which would have taken place at our educational district offices, we had 187 applications, or 187 persons were interviewed. Of those, 111 persons were successful. There were a few challenges that we did encounter. For instance, missing documents, expired permits, low levels of literacy among parents, resulting in extended periods of time for interviews, and difficulty in some instances organizing translators at the district level. The placement of migrant students, and we'll proceed to give you the breakdown. It's 23 at this point in time. So of that 23, 4 have been placed at government schools, 18 at denominational schools, 1 at a private school. The Ministry of Education and the Ministry of National Security have worked out a fairly robust and rigorous system for the registration, movement of confidential data, and subsequent approvals, and will continue to work together. Several activities have been organized around this initiative, but permit me to mention the tremendous work of the Education Working Group, which has sought over the few years to identify opportunities for the delivery of education services to migrant children in Trinidad and Tobago. The members include representatives from the Catholic Education Board of Management, the Ministry of Education, Living Water Community, Pan American Development Foundation, the United Nations High Commission for Refugees, UNHCR, and the United Nations Children's Fund, UNICEF. In terms of curriculum focus, the following adjustments have been made to accommodate the delivery of instruction to the migrant children. 1, teach English as a second language to young learners. Integrate or use the content and language integrated learning approach in the delivery of the national primary school curriculum, and curricular documents have been developed for children between the ages of 5 to 12, where we see the greatest need. In terms of the assessment, there has been the administration of the English language proficiency test using the Common European Framework for Reference for Languages, CEFR. This allows the Ministry of Education to identify the level at which students are functioning in order for successful placement. In terms of the numbers, 334 5 to 10-year-old migrant children have been assessed using this instrument. And this has been facilitated by the Center for Language Learning at the University of the West Indies in July-August 2023 in collaboration with the Education Working Group and the Pan American Development Foundation. Children with disabilities also needs to be addressed. We have had the involvement of the following organization: Caribbean Kids and Families Therapy Organization, CKFTO, which would have collaborated with United Nations Children's Fund to assist children with disabilities from both Trinidad as well as migrants from Venezuela in April 2022. The International Visitors Leadership Program, sponsored by the U.S. Department of State, which included participants from the Ministry of Education, the Ministry of National Security, and the Education Group, provided first-hand knowledge in establishing guidelines and procedures for addressing migrant populations. The way forward. The following measures are planned for implementation once the migrant students are enrolled from September 2024. And we know that it's a given at this point in time. Continuing assessment, preparing and conducting language proficiency assessments to determine appropriate instructional placement for migrant children at the primary and secondary levels. Community partnerships, collaborate with local Spanish-speaking organizations to provide cultural opportunities, after-school support programs, and potential volunteer resources. Technology integration, utilize translation apps, online learning platforms with Spanish language support materials and educational games to enhance learning. In addition, we have the IVLP Fulbright Specialist Program, where there has been a request for assistance from the U.S. Embassy for the provision of additional support over a 2 to 6 week period as our teachers prepare to interact with the migrant children. In terms of some of our international agencies, the IADB is also lending support. Currently, we are engaged with the IADB to prepare and conduct language proficiency assessments to determine, as indicated, appropriate instructional placement of migrant students. Discussions have already been held. And perhaps most importantly, resumption of registration in Term 1 of academic year 2024-2025 at the district level. I thank you.
I want to thank the hardworking executive of the Ministry of Education for their presentations, and this has just been a snapshot of what's happening at the Ministry of Education. There are quite another set of programs that are going on, and I want to thank the staff for really their hard work. Yes, during the vacation period, contrary to popular belief, the Ministry of Education is not on vacation. We are working assiduously to ensure that we carry out the projects that are required of us based on our mandate. So now I'd like to open the floor for questions. We'll take one question from each media house in turn, and then we could just keep going like that for a bit. So.
Good day. I'm Cassandra Ritty from Newsday. So as it pertains to the shortages of teachers in primary and secondary school, do you believe that this will affect the migrants entering into school?
As DPS Henderson would have indicated, There are 42 vacancies, and they are being filled by the Ministry of Education at this time so that there will be no gap in the provision of education to our students.
Well, thank you. It's wonderful to have you today. It was just like an overwhelming amount of information. I wish we could have you, the whole team, more often. That's the first thing. So congratulations, but can we see more of you? And even before the resumption of school, we'd be very happy to be here. We'd be here. So it kind of follows on the general thing about, are there going to be enough resources in terms of, I mean, my thing would be teaching assistants, because somebody did mention that there were OJTs and so on, but teaching assistants who can kind of buzz around the classroom or stick with that particular pupil and they would have to have those language skills. I mean, do we have that space? I mean, my question is resources. Is there going to be adequate resources, space, I guess even the books? I don't know if there has to be a dual language book for some of these pupils, student support services, which I am, well, I don't want to say too much about my thoughts, but I would like them, the SSSD, to be boosted, you know, generally for our locals, because I have some concerns that not enough. I mean, people will come and say, yes, we have this, we have that. But as a parent, you know, I've seen too many issues of kids falling through the cracks locally. So I'm wondering if we have all these different cultural differences coming in, you know, how is, you know, SSSD going to be boosted? So it's quite a mouthful to get into one thing, but it was really resources across, you know, so thank you.
All right, let me address that. With regards to our schools of focus, I'll start there first. We have 106 schools of focus, and one of the things that we recognized was needed for those schools would be more support in terms of their student support services, as well as learning support assistance. The learning support assistance, the schools have 2 or 3, the primary schools may have 1 each in that 106. And those were given specifically to address some of the same concerns you're raising, being more present in the classroom. If there's a teacher absent, there's someone to supervise and so on, because there are matters of discipline also that arise from unsupervised classes, which arise from teachers taking their days, sick days, or casual leave days as they are entitled to. So in terms of resources, you are on point regarding schools with students or student population that require more resources to be allocated. In those schools as well, those 106 schools of focus, we hired school social workers, 1 each for those schools, as well as a cohort of guidance counselors that can be shared to 1 counselor. So those issues of resources and schools requiring more resources, understood, and we have acted on that for our schools of focus. When it comes to the schools that the migrant students are going to be attending, if they are not schools of focus, then we will see what are the requirements. Because as you have heard, we have admitted 23 students so far over a range of schools. So every school may have 1 or 2 or maximum 3 students. So we need to first understand what is the impact of them on the school if it is something that cannot be handled by the current staff of the school. And if those are the learnings we are seeing, then it will inform what we do in response to that. But at this time, the question of resources, that doesn't arise as yet. The teachers, you would have heard, have been trained, and there have been efforts to keep supporting them. So that will continue to happen. And if we have an issue, we will take action to support the school even more. However, your point about resources, well noted, and that is why we have taken certain actions, especially in our schools of focus.
Good afternoon, Doris Polo, CNC3 Guardian Media. I'd just like some clarity before I ask my question. So what I'd like clarity on is the fact that we're saying it's 23 students that would be in the school system. But we just spoke with the minister outside who said he's aware that there are about 2,000 registered that should be able to get into the school system. So is it that this will be a trial period where we are going to determine the way forward and how to properly include them into the program? And then the actual question is about school violence. It's something that we've seen over the years. It's a major issue. And when we have children coming into the school system that may not even be speaking the language, there is the concern about potential bullying, how they would be able to interact with our local students here, and the challenges. Are we preparing?
Okay, let me address the issue of the number of migrant students first. While we may have 2,000 migrant students, they are not all at the point where they can be admitted to school. And that is why the valuable work of the Education Working Group, that's where that came in. Because we have students who are already a cohort, who are ready to come in. 23 of them have been admitted, and some more of them are in the various stages of getting their documentation in order. So as they are ready, they come into the system. So it's not that we are taking students, just all students, and putting them into schools. That would not achieve the outcome that we are looking for. And again, that is impacting on your second question. The students who are getting into the school system now have been through a series of trainings and a program that has readied them for this. The teachers have also been trained. And that's why we're not just taking students en masse and putting them into any school. We are putting them into a system that has been prepared for them. And a part of that orientation, as the CEO would have been speaking about, would be for the parents of the school, would be for the teachers of the school, and the children, so that the atmosphere could be more welcoming, and we are hoping that those types of sensitization sessions will assist in getting our students into the school without too much of that transition or bullying that you may have described. Again, once the system is in place and we see what is happening at the individual schools, because different schools will have different challenges, then we will see what is in place. But of course, remember that all schools have the benefit of having a school social worker, a guidance counselor that are assigned to the school, and they will be able to deal with any of the initial issues that may arise.
Good day, Lara Pickford-Gordon, Catholic News. I'd like to first make a request. A lot of information has come here, a lot of information overload almost. Would we be able to get, I'd like to get copies of some of the presentations made in hard copy.
We'll be able to give something to the press, and we will.
Yes, because and that will help with accuracy, etc. Okay, so you kind of answered the question I was going to ask, because we spoke about 187 registered, 111 were successful, 23 have been placed, and you gave a breakdown. He gave a breakdown of the placement. So we are satisfied that there are sufficient places for these others from the 111 to be transitioned as we continue.
It will depend on where the students apply for. And as they apply and the parents apply, we will look at the placements that are available and offer them in that way.
Okay, now I was also told, okay, so registration has been suspended because we're on holidays, schools are
primary school principals are on holiday.
So I was told that, okay, registration has been suspended and it will resume. So is it that as the school term progresses, that children will continue to transition into the school system as the term progresses?
Yes, and as they get their documentation in order, and as they get their translations done and so on, we will facilitate the placement.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Hamza Mohammed here from Caribbean Lifestyle Communication. So, in relation to resources, former Minister Dr. Tim Gopi Singh said that when, just before the UNC, before PNM came into power, UNC would have started close to 70 schools. And since then to now, only a handful would have been completed. So, would you like to make a comment on that?
It's unfortunate that former Minister Tim Gopi Singh did not disclose that with the planning of building 70 schools, he did not also take the steps to fund the building of 70 schools. It's unfortunate that as a government, we were left with over 70 schools in various stages of completion and contracts executed without funding. So it's unfortunate that that story is not told in its completion. And let me update the records to ensure that the people of Trinidad and Tobago understand the irresponsibility of a government to do that. Because a construction program costs billions of dollars. And there is no way any ministry in its normal allocation of funding can deal with that. No way. And a responsible government must organize funding for such a program. So we have taken the bull by the horns. There are these contracts that were executed without funding. The government has had to pay over $600 million just to satisfy that. And then a further $800 million has been applied to complete the almost 20 schools that we have completed of that program to date. As the government receives further funding, and that is loan funding specifically arranged for the construction of schools, we will enter into further phases. So we have done 2 phases, $400 million each. And we have quite a bit more awaiting us as we complete the school construction. But as you would know, the government is under intense pressure with regards to revenue. You will see the price of oil not as high as it should be. Price of gas is also down. Therefore, we have to prioritize where our funding is spent. And as important as schools are and education is, we have to ensure we balance that with health and everything else that is critical in this country. So that story needs to be told in its completion and its entirety. And the irresponsibility associated with that construction program needs to be exposed.
Hi, good afternoon. Shilan Ramsubat from the Trinidad Express. I'm not sure. I believe my question may be directed at the gentleman in white. You would have given a status update on the repairs at the schools. Is it safe to say that all schools will be ready when the new school term opens, or will there still be schools that may not be able to open?
I'll take that question.
And how many?
I'll take that question. School repair is an ongoing thing. It is a reduction in the complexity of understanding how important it is and how continuous it is to ask that kind of question. And I keep emphasizing that to the media, to say that all schools will be ready. We can say all schools are ready. And on the night before school opens, a sewer system goes down, a pipe bursts, and that will make that school not ready to open. So we do not reduce it in those terms. At this time, we are completing the works that we are able to that will address critical matters in the schools that have been addressed and that have been, submitted to us. We have a SIM system which principals submit their repair requests online. We also have the Director of School Supervision who has collected data from supervisors and principals on the most critical matters. It is not a comfortable position that we don't have all of the funding that is required to fix every school up to the level we would like to. For that, we would need more than $2 billion at this point in time. We do not have that available. And therefore, we operate on a triage-like system where we address the most important and critical issues first to ensure that all schools are in operation as far as possible. Another thing is that when schools require a large amount of repairs, we would ensure that the contractor does the ones most critical first, and then as school operates, they do works in the afternoons and on the weekends. That has been ongoing in 27 schools, spanning over 50 projects for the past academic year. So school repair is a continuous thing, and it is always the effort of the ministry to ensure that by the date of the school reopening, we will have all those repairs completed. However, circumstances do intervene. And so while we will do that to the best of our ability, we will not reduce the complexity of the situation to say all schools will be open. We are saying that that is our goal, and we continue to work towards that.
I actually did have a question. I just got a tap on my shoulder from a young lady, but still. I was actually interested in the pupils going back. Your colleague said 7,848 pupils did get a grant, and we're happy for them. I wanted to find out how many actually did apply, we're seeing, the cost of, some of these parents, my heart goes out for them. Even some of the book lists are sending things like whiteboard markers that you're actually having to buy supplies for the teachers to perform their duties. I have a book list right there I could show you. So we wanted to see what, what the demand was. 7,000 got, how many. In fact, I actually have a little thing to tag onto that. Eyeglasses, because if a child can't see, then that's a delinquent.
Okay, let me deal with the first question. We had 26,000 applications. 26,000 applications, of which 20,000 were successful applications.
Okay, I'm confused because I thought your colleague said 7,800
have been paid. Have been paid thus far, and so we are. And she broke down as well the payment schedule for the others that we are working towards currently.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
I have a screening. I think there had been a time when they had tried to initiate the ministry and with the health also, they tried to do school vision screening, because that, if we don't get these kids, on the right track early on, then we're going to be paying a lot more down the line. So I'm interested in programs to screen for vision and hearing, and also grants. Can there be any sort of grant for eyeglasses? A child's eyeglasses are basically $1,000, and you're obviously going to mash it out within 6 months or so, and repair it. Any thoughts on that, please?
The Ministry of Health at one time did have a program in collaboration with the Ministry of Education. They have indicated that the resources are very tight to complete that program. What we have done at the Ministry of Education, in our 106 schools of focus, we have approached corporate sponsors to assist us to do vision screening and supply glasses. So we are very happy for the support of the TTMA and Unicoma, and they have been implementing this program in a number of our primary schools, and we have about 50 students that have received eyeglasses that are based on the screening and the parents carrying the students to actually complete the process. They are screened at the schools, and then they have to do the testing at the centers, and the glasses are provided free. We are also in discussion at this time with UNICEF, who is assisting with another program, and we have a private provider that's working with UNICEF to be able to continue this program in our schools of focus, because we recognize for sure that this is very important. And in our schools of focus, what we have in many cases is our students of a low socioeconomic bracket who may not be able to afford and who may not even recognize that they have a problem. And so we have been working that out in the schools of focus as a project, specifically because we are putting more resources into these schools because they do need our support. They are the schools that don't necessarily have a track record of high academic or student performance, and we are exploring the various factors that have caused this, and we are into our second year of the remedial education program, which is a wide-ranging program, and the vision screening is a part of that. We have not embarked on the hearing screening just yet, but certainly we are working and have been doing so with the vision screening and provision of eyeglasses.
Thank you, Minister. Final question, Guardian Media. Thank you.
No,
apologies.
Minister, hi. So we spoke about the lower secondary performance exam taking effect from 2025, right? My question is, I didn't hear included in the curriculum anything about perhaps Spanish at the primary school level, seeing as we are going to be dealing with more people from Venezuela. They're coming and they're here, they've set up businesses, and also there's been repeated calls on the heels of emancipation for that to be taught in schools as well. So in that regard, are we giving any thought to that?
I don't know that emancipation is not taught in schools. Where did you learn about emancipation?
In tertiary education, actually.
You never did emancipation in school?
No, not in primary school level.
That is very interesting. I did it in primary school level. That's a part of what you learn in primary school. So it's not that it's not there. Maybe the calls are for it to be represented a different way. but it is a part of the curriculum in primary schools. With regards to Spanish speaking, however, that is something, as we know, children do a little bit of Spanish at the primary school level, they learn to count and so on, but that is definitely an area that we would love to expand. It is not as simple as just saying we want to teach it. We'd have to work out who would be the teachers and so on. As a matter of fact, we were discussing with the Caribbean Development Bank, the Latin American, Development Bank, the possibility of initiating a program for Spanish speaking in the primary schools that would involve hiring tutors, training tutors, and so on. But that is a level of expenditure that we would have to embark on. We have not gotten to the point yet, but it is something that is we consider to be very important. As we know, secondary school children do Spanish as a compulsory subject in forms 1 to 3. However, children learn more easily in the primary school level. So it really is the better place to address some focus, but we are not there yet because we have to work out how that expenditure will be funded. That's it?
I actually want to ask about...
Ask again.
We have the Prime Minister recently announcing that he's going to change the coat of arms and include PAN and remove the Columbus ships. How is that going to affect the curriculum, the education curriculum, if at all?
Well, I think it's part of our history that our children do learn, and I don't think that is going to be removed. It's a part of our history. However, if we have a new coat of arms, naturally that will find its way into the curriculum where we would have to change and explain the significance as we do with the different birds and the coat of arms and so on. But another issue is the issue of all of our children and the vision that all of our children in Trinidad and Tobago will have a chance as part of the education system to play a PAN. They may not learn the theory and come out all to be parts of the PAN system. However, it is important, and that's a vision of ours. And it doesn't matter the religion of the schools, because we're not speaking about the PAN as a carnival. As part of Carnival, we're speaking about PAN as an instrument that our children, it would be good for all of our children to learn that. But you know that this is not a new discussion. And I think the country is aware that in the implementation, there were certain issues coming out of the denominational school system. But that aside, that has to be worked out. However, we do have a primary school music program where we have 100 tutors that are working in our primary schools. We have just reconstituted that system after COVID. It would have gone down during the COVID period. So that is ongoing now, where we have music tutors that are going around in our primary schools and assisting in the learning of patriotic songs, in instrument playing, in performances, ensuring that schools, as part of our cultural transformation program, have a Christmas concert or any time concert, whatever it is, a performance where students have a chance to perform, choral speaking. All of these things are part of the primary school music program that our tutors are engaged in now in our primary schools. And it's important to note that this program operated with 50 tutors before. As we have reconstituted, we have increased that, double that to 100 tutors as a symbol of how important we think this is for our schools. And certainly we can do with more, but we are using what is available to us and what we can afford. As I said before, it's a matter of priority. As much as we would want to do, we still have to understand that the government can only do so much. And so that program is ongoing. And it really would be a wonderful thing if we can achieve that vision of all of our students being able to come out of our education system, you know, having beat a pan and played something on a pan and understand and value our national instruments. So we're looking forward to that and the implementation as we implement that primary school music program. We have no more questions?
No more questions?
Please ask.
Okay, Laura.
Just one comment. It would not be accurate to say that the July-August repair program, funding would have been an issue in what was done during that period, correct?
If it's accurate to say that?
Yes.
Funding is always an issue.
Because there was a comment that little information was coming forth from the ministry regarding what is happening with the July-August repair program.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think we provided information here. We have indicated that we have allocated 17 million thus far to working in the schools. And as we are able to receive more funding, which we are in discussion with the Ministry of Finance, we will allocate more and do more. When we speak about July-August vacation repairs, we speak about what we have identified. The scope of work in any one school may extend beyond that period. It is not that we are trying to complete all the work necessarily in that period. It is that we are embarking on the project during this time. So if the project is one that will take us 6 months, it will go on into the school year. But what we will do is the most critical works first, and then as the school term starts, we will complete the rest as it goes along on afternoons and on weekends. And that's really the understanding of what the July-August critical repair program is. So as much as we can complete in vacation time, we will do, and then continue the works as it goes along. There was a time where we had a lot. There was a time where we had a lot more funding available, and I would and I would understand what you're saying. And it is not that we don't want to provide a list. So we can provide, and we've said to the boards that we would provide a list of schools that are being worked on at this time. However, that is not to say that those are all the schools that need attention. And having provided the list, then there'll be a different conversation, right? Which schools are on the list, which schools are not on the list, and the scope of works for each. So I understand the situation, and I hope that this has made it a little clearer in terms of the present challenges that we do face and our efforts to overcome those challenges as we move forward.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. Thank you, Permanent Secretaries. Thank you, CEO. Thank you, Directors of the Ministry of Education. Thanks to TTT. Thanks to you, our viewers and our listeners who were watching, listening online. God bless you. This brings us to the end of our press conference. Have a wonderful day. Goodbye for now.